Hi, I'm Steve Adubato, and we kick off this program with a very important interview with United States Congressman Andy Kim, who represents the 3rd Congressional District, most of Burlington County and parts of Ocean County. Congressman, good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Congressman, we have you on for a variety of reasons, but I want to just confirm something as part of our New Jersey Leaders Who Matter initiative. You are the first Asian American lawmaker to represent New Jersey in Congress. Is that true?
That's right, I am. Yeah, I am the first elected from New Jersey. I'm the youngest Asian American elected to federal office in the country right
now. And your background before Congress?
I worked in diplomacy and national security at the State Department, the White House, and the Pentagon.
So let's get right into it, particularly given your background. You know, in just a few minutes, we're going to show the iconic, for all the wrong reasons, photos of you cleaning up the rotunda floor after the riots, the insurrection of January 6th. But we're also going to show some video just to remind people. People say, I've seen it enough. Have you? I'm not sure. Describe what was going on that day for you, what you saw, what you felt.
You know, it's as you know, we were talking, I come from a national security background. You know, I had the chance to work in Afghanistan and Iraq, and I've been in lockdown situations and shelter-in-place situations before. But you know, just never imagined in my wildest dreams that we would have anything remotely like that at the United States Capitol. You know, to have a situation, I remember, you know, when I was, you know, here hiding away, trying to figure out what was going on. I received an email from the Capitol Police describing the situation, and what they described was, you know, that we should not be going anywhere near the Capitol building. And it said, because we have lost control over the building. And you know, it was just such a surreal moment to understand what they were saying there, that for a period of time, we have lost control over the United States Capitol building, that the United States government did not have control over this most sacred of the buildings. And that's what happened on that day. It's not something that we should ever forget. And it's something that we should all dedicate ourselves to never allowing happen again. That should be something that people across the political spectrum should be able to agree upon.
Yeah, by the way, I want to show the picture of the congressman cleaning up the rotunda floor after the riots, which now is over at the Smithsonian National Museum of History. He asked for your blue suit and the artifact and other artifacts connected to that day. Yeah, beyond the historical significance, what would you say to those who say, come on, because I've talked to friends and others, and we've done programming on January 6th, and I've been obsessed with this series we've been doing called Democracy at a Crossroads. And I'm like, you see we're at a crossroads, right? Like, you see that the rule of law about elections, and people decide that they won no matter what the courts say, no matter what the Electoral College says. And it's not my job to editorialize here, but there are a fair number of people who watch right now who are like, come on, not that big a deal, you say?
Well, look, for me, you know, when I got that request from the Smithsonian to have my blue suit, you know, I was wondering about it. I was like, why this suit? You know, this is an ordinary suit. And what I came to understand is that they were asking for it not because of any accomplishment on my behalf. I do not consider myself to have done anything extraordinary that day. What I did was not brave nor heroic. So this was not because of an accomplishment. The Smithsonian is not like the Hall of Fame or anything like that. They asked for the suit because I was a witness to a tragic day. That suit tells a particular story. It is one of many things and objects and people that tell that story. So my story is not unique. It is not the only one that's there, but it is part of this story about not just what happened that day, and the fact that our building of this beautiful building, this temple of our democracy was defiled and desecrated that day. But it's also about what comes next.
What does come next, Congressman? What comes next?
What comes next is our country deciding whether or not we are going to move away from this dangerous trajectory that we're on right now. We are on an unsustainable trajectory when it comes to hyperpartisanship, when it comes to our combativeness and our toxicity in our politics. So this question is, are we going to get off of that trajectory? Are we going to try to meaningfully change the way that politics operates within our nation or not? And I don't have the answers for you right now. I think that is something that we as a nation are trying to deal with. and try to
Stay
see
right there,
whether or not we
Congressman.
move forward.
Stay right there. A very close friend of mine who's a very smart attorney said to me the other day, I mean, it's a really close friend. He said, Steve, you don't understand. We have to pick sides. And I said to him, and I'm not going to say his name, what sides are you talking about? He goes, whose side are you going to be on? And I said, well, we're Americans. He goes, no, I don't mean that. He goes, which side are you going to be on in this war? And he meant a war between those who are, quote, with Donald Trump and whatever that means, and those who are not. And he ultimately believed that we were heading toward, and I'm not an alarmist in that way, but we were heading towards something terrible. And I said, what about people who are in between? People who are, I'm not going to say what people's ideology is, but that they want to work together. And he said, it's impossible. What do we tell our kids? It's work things out in school, find a way to compromise, find a way to negotiate. Nope. Go into your corner and demonize each other. Am I over-exaggerating what it's like down there in Congress?
Well, look, the environment that you're describing is very often what we see in terms of toxicity here, but that doesn't mean that we have to accept that premise. I disagree that it has to be binary. I disagree that our politics have to be based off of personalities. I, for one, believe that I am a part of, and all of us are a part of something that's bigger than all of us. And we should not be pledging allegiance to any single individual. We shouldn't
Or
be
a
pledging
party.
allegiance to any party.
Or to the
Exactly.
Democrats, or to Nancy Pelosi, or to Donald Trump or Joe Biden.
Yeah, that's right. And so, the question then is how do we anchor ourselves? And I think that's why, for me, as someone, I worked as a career public servant. I told you I worked in government before, but I was a nonpartisan government employee. There is a way to anchor ourselves in service. There is a way that we can anchor ourselves in that kind of patriotism that doesn't have to be so overtly political. And I know it sounds cheesy, but it's possible.
Even with Republicans not participating in the investigation as to what happened on January 6th. They're like, no, we're moving on. And that's not editorializing, that's a fact. They said, no, we don't want to go there. We don't want to participate. So frankly, it is not bipartisan. Yes, Liz Cheney's on it, I get it. It's not bipartisan, Congressman. And it's going to be seen as not bipartisan.
No, that's absolutely right. And look, we have certainly an assault on the truth. We have a level of disinformation in our country that is eroding us from the inside, is hollowing us out. If we cannot at least agree upon a shared truth, what chance do we have to be able to heal? What chance do we have to be able to move forward? So you're right, though. This is something that, sadly, that we've gone to this state where we
give me a
have that
silver
kind of
lining. I'm sorry for interrupting. Give me some silver lining, please.
Well, look, silver lining is that we have a lot of Americans that are engaged. We had the highest turnout in American history with this last election. We had the highest turnout, even about 100,000 more people in my congressional district voted in 2020 than they did in the previous presidential election in 2016. And the silver lining is that I see young people in my district engaged in ways that I certainly was not when I was their age. That is hopeful for me. And so I believe that we are a resilient nation. I believe we have a lot of bend before we break, and we've seen a lot of problems in the past, but we have to recognize what gives us that resilience, and that resilience comes off of that commitment of service and that recognition that we are part of something bigger than us. It's about humility, not hubris. So that is what I hope we can restore our anchoring.
Help me understand, in terms of discrimination and the attacks against the Asian American community, how much worse is it today than it was a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago? A, and B, what does it have to do with COVID?
Yeah. Well, one thing I want to say is that the discrimination has existed before COVID. It'll exist after COVID. So this is not just, because of what we've seen over the last year. But that being said, this is the worst I've ever seen it in my lifetime in terms of just outright open discrimination and racism, the fear of violence in the Asian American community, especially with our elders who have been targeted and attacked all across this country. That is visceral, and that fear is so potent right now. So it is alarming. And yes, we've gotten a lot of attention from across the country, and that's important, shining a light on what exactly we're talking about. But it's something that I worry, how do we sustain that and how we turn that into real action?
Let me ask you, Do you feel particular responsibility being, as it relates to the issues we're talking about, discrimination against the Asian American community, being the first Asian American to serve in the congressional delegation in New Jersey and one of the first federal officials, if you will, of Asian American background? Do you feel a particular responsibility? And if so, what is it?
I do feel responsibility in terms of giving a voice to a community that I think has not been able to get its voice heard as much as others have, and have not been able to tell that story. Especially here in New Jersey, we have such a large and vibrant and beautiful and dynamic Asian American community. We have one of the largest Asian American communities in the entire country. And right now, they're scared and they're hurting and they're fearful about what happens next. So part of it is about me being an Asian American legislator, but part of it is also about me being a dad. I grew up in this state, and I got two baby boys. I got one that just turned 4 and another that's 5. And I'm thinking about what kind of state, what kind of country are they going to grow up in? Am I going to have to worry about any discrimination or violence against them? I want to give them everything that they deserve, and I want to have that peace of mind. And me, as a United States Congressman, I do not have that peace of mind about my own kids, about their future. That's not something that we should be able to have to worry about in the richest, most powerful country in the world, in one of the most powerful and dynamic, prosperous states in the country. New Jersey should be able to provide that. America should be able to provide that. So I approach this both as a dad as well as a congressman.
Congressman, let me ask you this. The biggest lesson you have learned as a top federal official in Congress as it relates to COVID, and particularly in a district like yours, that is not overly congested, that is spread out, that is down the Jersey Shore and in Burlington County as well. Biggest lesson you've learned, A, and B, what concern do you have for your constituents as we do this program at the end of July 2021?
Biggest lesson I've learned is about making sure that we have that clear and constant communication with the district. One thing that we've been very successful as, we had an email list that we started at the beginning of COVID with 0 people on that email list. It is now up to, I think, 30 or 40,000 people in my congressional district that is getting information on a daily basis, weekly basis. It's just the facts, giving people an understanding of where to go for more information and engaging. That was one of the most successful things that we've done. So, I think we need to make sure that we continue to find ways to communicate in that clear way. And in terms of concerns about what comes next, for me, a lot of my concerns right now are on small businesses. I'm on the Small Business Committee in Congress. I'm the only congressional member from New Jersey on the Small Business Committee, so I've made it a personal mission of mine. I'm very worried about what comes next. And if I'm worried about it, the owner, these small business owners and workers, they're even more concerned. So we got to make sure we're focused on that and giving them every shot to be able to come out of this hopefully stronger than they went in.
By the way, real quick, food insecurity, an issue that matters to you greatly, right?
Yeah, hugely. I'm so worried about hunger issues in our district. I was worried about this before COVID. Before COVID, we had an estimated, I think 16,000 kids in the New Jersey 3rd Congressional District that were considered food insecure, which is just a fancy way of saying hungry. So, this is even worse. The number of calls that I've gotten from folks that, just never had to face this question. I've had people, they're breakdown crying on the phone because they never in their life thought that they'd have to ask where they can go for a food pantry, where they can go to get a helping hand and a meal. These are people that have pride, they have jobs, they never thought they'd get there. So this is something we need to focus on. I mean, food is just a basic necessity. We should all be able to agree, nobody in the richest, most powerful country should go hungry.
Yeah, Congressman, this is the 4th time I've said it's the final question, but they keep telling me I got another minute with you, so I'm going to take advantage. You have a military base, McGuire, not just a military base. It's a very important one down in Burlington County. I say down because I'm up in North Jersey. There's so many things going on around the world. Our military is so engaged in so many situations, both domestically and around the world. Support for military members at this time who have got to be overworked and exhausted is a gross understatement. What's your message to them?
First of all, I say thank you for your service. At this time, more than ever, we have to to support those that are fighting for us. And, we not only have problems domestically here, but we haven't had a chance to chat about, but we have so much problems going globally right now. We are entering a new era of global competition, with our competition and our challenges with China and with other countries. This is something I'm deeply worried about. It's a new era of global competition. And as a former diplomat, I see that. So our military is so important right now, and we should be proud of our contributions to that here in New Jersey. I hope we're proud of the Joint Base. I hope we're proud of Picatinny. These are elements where we are giving the country the service that it deserves, and I'm proud to support them on the Armed Services Committee.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back after this.
Think Tank with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by New Jersey Institute of Technology, PSE&G, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, New Jersey Sharing Network, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, Choose New Jersey, Fedway Associates, Inc., Operating Engineers, Local 825, St. Joseph's Health, and by these public-spirited organizations, individuals, and associations committed to informing New Jersey citizens about the important issues facing the Garden State. And by Employers Association of New Jersey. Promotional support provided by NJ.com and by Insider NJ.